Okay, everybody, I've got the TIE Fighter puttied up and cleaned about as much as I can here. All the edges are nice and smooth. I forgot I gotta replace a little tab there I sanded off. But I'm actually quite happy with it. It looks pretty good. Oh, and I forgot these edges are here. That'd be a quick fix later. Anyways, what I need to do now is fix these big brakes. You can see there's a big one there. There's a really bad one over there, and for that, what I'm going to use is Citadel. They simply call it green stuff, and it is a two-part epoxy. And you use this for sculpting, but it is also very useful for filling in seam lines and stuff like this, big gaps. Oh yeah, that was the other one I forgot about. There's a big hole in the bottom of the ship. I don't know if I mentioned that, but I put a little rod in there. It's out of the way of the cockpit. It sticks out a little bit. I'm going to leave it alone. I don't care if it's not flush. But I have to fill in that other hole there. Fill that in with regular basic putty like this. I could do it with this stuff, but that would take a very long time for me to do. So that's where epoxy putty like this, again, kind of sculpting putty, comes in handy. And so I thought I'd just do this quick little video here showing you how to use it and what you should do when you have stuff like this. There's other companies that make this type of green stuff, like Tamiya makes a two-part epoxy putty, and you knead it together and you mold it into whatever shape you need. What's really important though is that you keep it in a separate container. I've got this little Rubbermaid container here that's used for this stuff, and I've got some wax paper in the bottom here. What the wax paper does is it absorbs all the water. What you want to do is you want to have this moist. So about once a month, you just dip it in water, put it on top, kind of rub it off a little bit. But what you want to do is you want to keep some moisture in here. That way the stuff doesn't dry out and you can keep it a longer time. So what you do is you just cut yourself up a strip like this. And I've got a bowl of water here. And toss it in there. So what you want here is you want it to stay wet, because as you mix it together it becomes, well, they call it green stuff. But the more you knead it out like this, the more you're actually pushing out all the moisture. And got to kind of do this off screen here, but you can see it there becoming green, and it becomes quite a dark green. And but I'm gonna let it dry about, I think, 2 days. But again, what you want to do is you want to just have this water around to delay the drying time. And again, always keep that wax paper at the top there. Keep that moist. Don't actually have, a little layer of water in the bottom. That's not going to help you any bit whatsoever. That's just going to ruin it for you. But here we go. So there's a few little chunks in there. Now I prefer this Citadel green stuff. It's not actually made by Citadel. I learned that a little while ago. It's actually made by a different company altogether. But I like it a lot more than the Tamiya brand material. Tamiya's good, but it seems to dry out quicker than the green stuff does. So let's go ahead, and what I'm going to do is use it on the hole here in the back. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it in there, and I'll just use my X-Acto knife. See if I can just cut out this section here without breaking any part of my model. Let's add some more on here and fill it in. You can dump that back in the water just to keep it from drying out a little bit more. And yeah, sculpting tools are very handy. I borrowed this stuff from my brother. I did not borrow his sculpting tools, unfortunately. They would be very handy right now. So let's put some more back in here. So now I'm going to let this dry. Probably about 2 days. I really want this to harden and cure properly. That way when we sand it and file it over, you're not going to run into as many problems with it as you should if it was still wet. Maybe even a few days longer than that. And then what you can do is you can add, putty, like this type basic putty. You can add that on top of it, but this should do. And again, it'll sand itself nice and smooth. So I'm going to go do that for the rest of these areas in here. That'll take me some while to do, but I'll get there. Okay, to be bluntly honest, it's been a very long time since I've recorded a thing. So I don't know where I left off, and I'm just going to start where I've been, because there's a lot of stuff to watch, and I don't quite feel like watching it all right now. I'm going to move this up higher. Here we go. That's better, and let's tilt this down a little bit. So I have been working on this guy today, and I've done quite a bit of stuff. I filled in some more gaps and stuff that I noticed, and I broke this off. So this is extra security. I just finished building this. So here's the back. And it's not near close to what the original is supposed to be, but it mirrors it. And I quite actually like that a lot. And then what I did is I put this ring around it here, and I'll get to that later. This is just round styrene. I just kept gluing it in a circle there. So I have that. My next step, I believe, is to paint it. And how and what to paint it is a big debate, because the TIE fighters appear to be gray. Now, before I started doing this project, the one thing I really wanted was this. This is a Hasbro titanium TIE fighter, or TIE Advance. It is metal, all die cast, has this little canopy that pops up here, so you can look inside. And I wanted this as a reference model for when I built mine, but I couldn't find it anywhere, and so I decided, the heck with it, just go on with the build anyways. And so what I've done here is I bought it because I kind of thought, you might as well have it since you were looking for it for so long, and you can continue to use it as a reference. But the part I want to talk about here is the color. You can see here it is a very deep blue. It's not really this deep a blue according to some people. This is a Hot Wheels TIE Fighter. The Hot Wheels are actually very, very nice. If you're collecting these little ships, I actually like the Hot Wheels more than these. These have like joints and stuff, and they tend to wear out really quickly, and these Hot Wheel ones don't have any joints at all, so there's no posability, but you're not going to lose anything. Anyways, you can see here it's a very blue-gray, and this is apparently the color that they're supposed to be. However, I never realized this when I was a kid. I never, ever did. I always thought they were gray. I always thought they were very, very light gray. So you got these two here. You can see this is more accurate. This is almost a Luftwaffe underside blue. It's very, very close to that same range. It's got a bit of a grayish tint into it instead of blue. So this might anger a couple people, but I quite frankly don't care. I'm going to paint it gray. Why? Because that's how I always saw them as a kid, and this is how I always had it as a kid. So I'm reconstructing this something of my youth. So if that angers anybody, I don't apologize, because I'm building this as my model. I'm going to use Royal Light Gray XF80. I've never tried this one, I think. I know there's like 4 RAF colors that they made when the Spitfire came out. I think this is the one I haven't tried yet before. So I'm quite interested to see how this looks, because it might be a good kind of X-Wing, Y-Wing color for future reference. I've never seen anyone use it on Star Wars vehicles, so I'm very, very curious to try that. The other thing I want to talk about are the wings, because I want to do something kind of cool for the wings. I don't know if I'm going to prime them, if they need to be primed, because they actually took the styrene cement really, really well. I thought I'd need to super glue them down, but nope, they bonded very well, which is very surprising. So I'm doing a test sample right now to see if it needs to be primed. I know there's a lot of you thinking out there right now, you always need to prime your model. Well, I don't always prime my models if I don't need to. There's a lot of models where I know Tamiya paint is not going to come off, and so I don't prime it. It might be the case with this one, but you can see there are these black panels. Now, I've wanted to do this for quite a few years now, and a couple of the Imperial builds that I've seen over the years. A lot of people, again, paint this black, and it's correct color. But what I've always wanted to do is paint it metallic gray. So I'm going to paint these metallic gray. Why? Because I'm building my model. It doesn't have to make sense, does it? So yeah, these are all going to be gray, metallic gray, and then I'm going to do a black wash in everything. So there's all these little dots in it, and all those are going to be black, and then the rest is going to be this cool metallic gray. I think it's going to look really spiffy when I get there. So that's what I'm doing right now, and I'm gonna go. I've been putting it off. I keep forgetting about it all week to do the to make the display base. I still need to do that, and that needs to come kind of soon. But for right now, like I said, I'm doing the test of the paint, and if I need to prime it, my next step is to prime the wings. I don't need to prime this. I think this will be fine, but I need to tape it up. So that's going to happen very soon as well. This is all going to be taped up. And yeah, I'm going to paint that metallic gray first. And then I'm just going to mask them all off. Every little section is going to be masked off. And then I'm going to paint the entire thing gray. And then we're going to get to weathering. So, oh, and then I have to paint dark gray. There's some dark gray panels like the insides here. They need to be dark gray like this. I wrote that down. I did write down what paints I was using, but I lost the paper. Oh no. So that's what I've been doing. So I will continue on here and hopefully remember to build that display stand tomorrow. Alright, painted it last night. I painted this Royal Light Gray. I really like this paint a lot. I might use this for other Star Wars vehicles like X-Wings, Y-Wings, and etc. It's not as white gray as I want it, but it's very, very bright, and I like it a lot. I did record airbrushing the gray on here, but you couldn't really see it because it was just it blended in with the actual gray plastic. But here you can see it's all cleaned up, and I don't know. I think I got a lot of paint on. No, I didn't get any paint inside of here. Oh, cool. I tried masking this off. This didn't work at all, unfortunately. It gave way a couple times. Come on, get out of there. So, it's a very, very nice color. I really like it a lot. Like I said, it's very close to. Greg sent me a link to the Model Master color. That's basically the X-Wing color. But this is very, very close. I might just use this because it does look very, very nice. So I'm incredibly thrilled about this. So what I'm going to do later on is mask off these areas here and airbrush these insides here a darker gray. But I'll do that quite a bit later. I've got some other things to do here, such as removing the panels here. I just want to see how they look. I think they're going to be very nice. This plastic took to the paint very, very well. I was totally thrilled about that. It doesn't scratch off. It just falls on there really nicely, so I'm not worried about it. And what I'll do later is gloss coat it with some Future to really protect it. And what's really cool about this is after, you know, all these are different colors on here, all these little bits and pieces that I cut out and made up, and seeing them all a uniform color, look at that, looks spectacular. I think after you know, paint it all the same, I think it just looks great. I love this. I'm really liking this. So yeah, like I said, my next step here is to, this is going to take me a few days to do because it's so big. I don't like airbrushing Future onto models. I really don't. I find the fumes to be too much for me with my asthma, and I end up just breathing a bunch of it in. And it seems to, it's not even just that, but it seems to stick around in the room for quite a while too. So that looks absolutely stunning. I'm really happy with this. Really, really happy with this. I might not sound like it, because I'm actually very tired. I just took kind of a hike. It recently snowed and it was very deep, but it was very nice. Look at that. Oh, that's so cool. That is cool. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna go do the other one, and that's my next step, because it's gonna take a few days for the future to dry, because you know you do this one side and then you have to flip it around, do the other side, and I think 2 coats of future per side, just so that it's really, really stuck in there, and I don't need to, you know, worry about it later on, accidentally scratching it or something like that, bumping it around. So it's going to be a while, but it'll be very worth it. So what I'm trying to do right now is create some subtle streaking effects. His TIE Fighter is basically clean. You know, some of the X-Wings are pretty beat up, and you know, like, you get that really nice weathering on like the Millennium Falcon. But I just created some nice subtle streaks. I don't know how well they'll pick up on the camera here, but I can definitely see them, and they look quite nice. So all I did for this is I used some artist oils, and I made these little dots everywhere. And then I took a wide brush. I actually want to get a wider one than this, and actually something with better hair. I think a natural hair would work better for oil. Have to ask my dad about that one. But I pulled them like this, so you got all these nice streaks. They look pretty good, hey? I'm gonna just take some tissue paper while they're still wet, and I pulled these down with mineral spirits here. So this is all I've been doing basically. And then when I get too much, I can just wipe it away. Like you can see, it's really grimy right there. I don't want it to be that grimy. And so what I'll do in a little while is I like to let this stuff dry for a little while, and then come back like 10 minutes, 15 minutes later, and wet it all down again. Do the same basic thing of using the brush and just pulling it down. I don't know, I've seen some people and they go really fast with this stuff. They'll be like, yeah. I haven't been able to get it to work as well as that. So I like I said, I like to leave it to dry for a little while. It hardens in a little bit, and then just, yeah, again, 10 minutes later, 15 minutes later, just come back and do more streaking. For areas like this where there's not really much streaking, what I'll basically do is just kind of work it in, you know, something like this. So it's like a smudge, and then I can go with my finger and even the paper, just, you know, make like these little marks. Who knows what they are, but it does look quite nice. So this does take a while to do, and it's again part of my inability to weather things properly that's keeping me from being very quick at this. But what I'll probably do like later on is, for some areas like these, like the thrusters there, what I'll probably do is I'll just use something like Tamiya Panaline Accent Color just to highlight all the shapes and stuff like that. And this is mostly for the, you know, the big areas. I quite like that. So it's going to be a very long process, again because of my slowness, but it'll look quite nice. And just a quick heads up on the wings, they did not turn out well at all. You remember I painted these metallic gray, and then I used an enamel wash on top of there. This paint hardened like a rock in like an hour. It was incredible. I have never seen testers paint harden that quick, especially enamel. So what I did is I dry brushed. It's what I should have done to begin with. I dry brushed the gunmetal on top of this, and I'm just going to paint around these and clean them up. And then this is all going to just be a Panaline wash throughout all of this and in here. And I'll do the same thing here. I'll make some streak marks on the wing sections. And I can't fix it. It's just more work to do, unfortunately, which does suck, but whatever. It'll be done in the end. So that's where I'm at. Got some new music to listen to while I work on this TIE Fighter. First one here being the new John Williams score for The Force Awakens. It's quite nice, actually. A lot of people are complaining it doesn't have that same pizzazz as the original, but look at that, isn't it spectacular? Just the cover is just awesome. Which is quite true. I hear a lot of his other work in this one, like The Terminal. Oh shoot, some Harry Potter, some others, but still very, very good. But this came in the mail just yesterday, and I've wanted this for a few years now. The El Cid soundtrack. This is 2 CDs by the fantastic composer Miklos Roja. So I'm very much looking forward to this. Look at that. Oh, I love the movie too. It's a very, very good movie if you've never seen it. So I've got my tunes. I can listen to the Star Wars, El Cid, back to Star Wars, back to El Cid. I'm good. I can finish this model. So I did the oil streaks, cleaned it up, and I decided to add a little bit more color. I added some brown. But for the brown, I used these Tamiya weathering kits. These are very cool. If you've seen these and you haven't bought one, I really recommend you try one out. Now what I need to do though is I need to buy one that's called Winter, and I think it's white, I think it's brown, and a black, like black. This is oil stain. It looks black, but it's actually very brown. The other one is black, and that's what I want. I think it's called Soot. That's the one I need to get for some other stuff. That would have made this job a little simpler, actually. But the nice brown looks good. What I want the black for is just to make these browns darker, but they look very good. So I added an oil wash in, or panel wash. So yeah, I guess it is oil inside of there. That made them dark, so I didn't have to actually airbrush them, which was cool. So this is kind of done for right now. It really is. I need to add on the lasers onto the front. I need to, build the octagon cage in the front there. I also went ahead and cleaned this up. You can see my paint marks in there. Hopefully those will disappear with the Code of Future. It's because this is glossy and this isn't. I've done touch-ups before, and usually a Code of Future, even 2, and they're quite hidden again. So for this, especially on the inside here, there's all those great little bits and stuff in there. For that, I'm going to use some Panaline accent color again. I'm going to use just this. I'm not going to mix up my own stuff. It dries way too hard, way too fast. I don't like that. That was quite shocking. Let's try this. I need some mineral spirits. Here, there we go. Let the stink commence. So what I like to do sometimes is to just dunk it in like that and paint it on like this. I'm actually doing this wrong, sorry. Usually I use my the little brush for something like this. So what I'll do is I'll just paint this stuff on. Let me actually alternate here. So paint this on like so. There you can see it getting into all the cracks, recesses, and all that jazz. Looks good, but it's pretty thick, right? So what I'll do here, I just get rid of the black paint in there that I so foolishly used. So now this is just loaded with mineral spirits, and just basically make it thinner. Slosh it around more. And what I can do afterwards, which is what I'll probably do, is clean it up. with the... Oh, it's right underneath the leg. Hold on. There we go. I'll just go like this later on and just kind of wipe parts of it away, on, especially on the top. Those parts that I don't want. That'll take me a while to do, but it'll definitely highlight all that detail. So that's going to take me quite a while to do both of these, but you can already see a lot of that detail is popping out. And again, it's very nice because it's quite subtle about it. It's not very abrupt. You know, here's the panel lines. You know, like sometimes you see people painting like Gundam figures, and they use the markers. And for those, you actually do want those very nice and abrupt panel lines because they look very sharp. But on here, this one I want it to be a bit more subtle, just as a personal preference. So let's get it in around all the blocks and everything. And anyways, this will, like I said, take me a while to do, but it'll look great in the end, especially on here. These lines I'd like to have a little bit sharper so you can see those. So this will take me quite a while to do, but it'll look good in the end, I hope. Yeah, I hope.